Good morning. This is Dr. R. Kamalambiyeshwari, Associate Professor from Department of Industrial Biotechnology. And today we are going to brief about the topic tissue culture media from animal biotechnology. Coming to this tissue culture media, the tissue culture media should support the cells to grow properly by providing all the vital nutrients that is required for the cell to grow in the medium. Coming to cells, they generally the animal cells will have complex nutritional requirements that must be met in the medium so as to permit their propagation under in vitro condition. Only when the nutrient requirement for the cell has been met, then the cell has the ability to proliferate and to differentiate in the medium. Previously, the scientists have employed many different media, natural media like chick embryo extract, plasma sera, lymph, etc., for growing the animal cells. However, they varied in their growth promoting characteristics and thus they hampered the reproducibility of those experiments. And today, a number of chemically defined formulations have been developed. Many number of chemically synthesized media have been developed for the cells to grow under in vitro condition that support the growth of a variety of established cell lines. Generally, the cell lines will have the complex nutritional requirement that must be met by the medium for the proliferation of the cells. There are many different types of media like Eagles BSL medium, Eagles minimum essential medium, and Delbecque's modified essential medium, and Iscoves modified Delbecque's medium, and Roosevelt Park Memorial Institute. Likewise, many different medias are standardized for the proliferating animal cells. And the cells may need various nutrients like glucose, fats and fatty acids, lipids, phospholipids, and sulfolipids, and energy synthesizing energy generating components like ATP, amino acids, vitamins, minerals. So these are the vital requirements for the cells to grow under in vitro condition as well as under in vivo condition. But when we are mimicking the when we want to mimic the nutritional requirement which has to be under in vitro condition to in vivo condition, then of course these nutrients have to be supplied in the optimum level for the cells to grow. And coming to serum, the serum, of course, serum is serum containing medium and serum free medium are used for the animal cell culture. And the serum, of course, it provides various essential nutrients for the cells to grow. And the essential nutrients that are present in the serum, which in turn modify the cell growth, are, say, growth factors, hormones, cell adhesion factors, and various other factors that are needed by the most mammalian cells for their long-term growth and metabolism. Coming to the properties and special requirements of the media, the pH of the media have to be optimized for animal cell culture. Once the pH is not optimized, if the pH is above the cell requirement or if it is below the cell requirement, then of course the proper growth of the cell cannot be attained. And hence the pH have to be optimized, and majorly in case of animal cell culture, the optimum pH of the medium will be around say 7.2 to 7.5. Which is generally needed for many of the mammalian cells. Mostly, the cells need neutral pH for its growth as well as for its metabolism. And hence, if the pH of the medium is in between, say 7.2 to 7.4, then of course it promotes the cell growth. And this phenol red, of course, it is one of the internal indicator which is normally used in many of the cell culture media, especially for animal cell culture. And coming to oxygen, this is one of the important factor that controls the cell proliferation, and the cell depend upon the glycolysis for the supply of oxygen. So glycolysis is one of the major metabolic pathway which is necessary for supplying oxygen to the cells, which in turn allow the cells to grow. And the selenium controls the oxygen diffusion, and glutathione here in many of the animal cell culture medium acts as a free radical scavenger. And next, coming to temperature, the optimum temperature of mammalian cell is around 37 degrees Celsius, and the change of plus or minus 5 degrees Celsius is acceptable. And coming to humidity, generally the cell growth needs about 100% humidity, which is essential to reduce the evaporation of the media. And hence, the humidity have to be maintained at the optimum level so that the cell dehydration and the cell drying will be arrested. And the supply of antibiotics in the medium, of course, it is essential to control the contamination in the medium. The animal cell culture as well as the plant tissue culture, of course, they are prone for contamination. So, in order to avoid the contamination in the medium and allow the cells to proliferate, of course, the antibiotics have to be supplied at the optimum level. Say the penicillin, if at all the penicillin has been supplied in the medium, then it has to be supplied at the concentration of, say, 100 units per ml, especially for the growth of bacterial cells, for arresting the many of the growth of the cells. And streptomycin, of course, it has to be provided at the concentration of, say, 100 milligram per ml. And gentamicin, of course, it has to be provided at the concentration of 50 milligram per ml. And nystatin, the same concentration as like gentamicin, say 50 milligram per ml for fungal and acids. Coming to the limitations of serum, generally these limitations of serum has allowed the use of, say, serum-free media. Coming to limitations of serum, so it is undefined with respect to its chemical composition. The chemical composition of the serum has not been defined, and hence it is one of the limitation of serum. It is undefined with respect to its chemical composition, and it can be a source of adventitious agents and their byproducts also. Sometimes this release of some toxic products has also led to the cell death, and hence their the serum may also be a source of, say, adventitious agents as well as their byproducts. And the serum may in turn sometimes prevents variable performance of cell growth, and hence it adds a substantial cost to the cell culture. And the serum has been used, then of course there are many problems while we go for downstream processing for purification of product. And next is its availability. So all these limitation factors has led to the use of, say, serum-free medium in animal cell culture. And coming to the serum-free medium, of course, the important amino acids, some trace elements, growth factor, hormones, and transport proteins and addition factors are added in the medium. And the addition factors are added, which serves to be a main components of intracellular substance. And serums such as fibronectin, collagen, and laminin were also be present. And the primary purpose of introducing serum-free medium is to promote the specific growth of the particular type of cell. And coming to the types of tissue culture, while we go for cell culture, then of course it is just obtained by taking the explant from the tissue, and the tissue has to be dispersed. Most commonly, the enzymatic method will be used, and cell suspension, which has been obtained due to the dispersion of tissues, which will be then cultured as a monolayer or else as a suspension culture. So this is said to be cell culture. And coming to the advantage of this method, the development of cell line over several generations can be achieved. So once the primary cell culture has been established by disrupting the tissue and by obtaining the cell, of course, this development of cell line is the next task, and of course, it is much easier also while the primary culture has been achieved successfully. And the scale up is also possible, and the absolute control of physical environment has to be done, and the homogeneity of the sample will be there, since because the cells will be disrupted from a simple piece and a single piece of tissue, and the less compound is needed than in animal models. So these are some of the advantages of cell culture. And coming to the disadvantages of it, the cell may lose its characteristic feature while it goes for some differentiation. So while after the cell proliferation, of course, the cell has to go for differentiation, and sometimes the cell may lose its differentiation ability while the secondary cell culture or the cell line and the particular differentiation character will be lost. And of course, it is hard to maintain, in the sense it is prone for contamination and it has to be maintained in a aseptic environment. And only growth of small amount of tissue is achieved. Of course, it is also a cost-effective process. Generally, for maintenance of the cell culture, of course, it is the high task. It is a cost-effective process. And de-differentiation, again, it is one of the disadvantage. And instability and aneuploidy condition may be achieved, which is said to be one of the disadvantage of the cell culture. And next, coming to the expand culture, it's a growth of cells or tissues separate from the organism. So the tissues or cells that are taken from the organism is grown under in vitro condition. Of course, this is said to be an explant culture, and this is typically facilitated by a use of a liquid, semi-solid, or solid growth medium such as broth or agar, and it also has its own advantage and disadvantage. Coming to the advantage, some normal functions may be attained while we go for this explant culture. The cells that are grown in explant culture will, of course, retain its normal function. The maintenance of its own normal function can be achieved in this, say, explant culture. And this is better than urban culture. Of course, for scale up, it is not an ideal culture, ideal technique. And coming to disadvantage, the original organization of tissue is lost. So once the explant culture is done, then of course the original organization of tissue may be lost. And coming to organ culture, this is another type of tissue culture, especially the animal tissue culture. And the entire embryos or organs are excised from the body and they are cultured. And it also has its own disadvantage, like not like a scale up is not recommended, and the growth is very slow, and the fresh explantation is required for every experiment, for the beginning of every experiment. Of course, the fresh excise of the embryos or organs is required. And coming to its advantage, say the normal physiological functions of the cells of the embryos or organs is maintained, and the cells remain fully differentiated. So these are the advantage of organ culture. So if we combine the information regarding this tissue culture, the cell culture, explant culture, and the organ culture, or the types of tissue culture, and each and every technique has its own advantage and disadvantage. So this is just the procedure for excising the say tissues or cells from the animal system, and by growing it under in vitro condition. So the tissue has been excised, and that has been finely chopped, and the dissection, mechanical dissection may be done, or else the enzymatic disruption can also be carried out for obtaining the say cell culture, and for obtaining the explant culture, as well as for using or for doing the organ culture. Coming to primary culture, when the cells are surgically removed from an organism, and of course, if they are cultured under placing them in a suitable culture environment, they'll attach to the medium and they'll divide and grow. This is said to be primary culture. So, removing the cells surgically from an organism and placing the cells in a suitable medium, and culturing it either by attaching them on the solid surface, or else through some suspension culture also is said to be primary culture. And most of the primary culture cells have a finite lifespan. The 50 to 60 divisions are pronounced under in vitro conditions. And the primary cells are considered by many researchers to be more physiologically similar to in vivo cells. That means the cells will mimic the in vivo metabolic features, though they are grown under in vitro condition. And due to their limited lifespan, one cannot do the long-term experiment with the cells, and hence the primary cell culture, of course, primary culture has been carried out through, say, subcultural technique or secondary cell culture. So here it again indicates the procedure for going for primary culture. So tissue explants have, have to be excised, and the mechanical disruption should be done, or else the cell may also the tissue may also be prone to go for enzymatic digestion also. So if mechanical disruption has planned to be done, then of course it has to be done using pestle and mortar, and then the tissue extract has been filtered using 0.22 micron filter fitted to a syringe. And if this tissue has been prone to go for enzymatic digestion, then the enzymatic digestion will be carried out by using the enzyme, say trypsin, and or else by collagenase. So both is used for releasing the individual cells from the tissue. The extracellular matrix will be loosened, and the cells will be liberated. The individual cells will be liberated in the medium. And the cells are counted on a hemocytometer, and once the cell count is normal, then of course they are seeded into the medium, and 5 ml of cells is suspended, and the flask are then incubated in the CO2 incubator, and the flasks that are incubated in CO2 incubator are observed daily for their normal growth characteristics, and the media has to be changed every 2 to 3 days until the cells retain or cells attain its 80% confidence. So this method, the tissue, it is just a protocol for doing the primary subculture or for secondary subculture. So this representation will in turn give a whole idea. The tissue has to be dissected from the organism, and the selection of required tissue and the removal of fat and necrotic cell is essential while we dissect the tissue for animal cell culture, and the fine dissection can be done chopping down to explant size, and or else it can be mechanically disaggregated by receiving by receiving the tissue, or by passing the tissue to a syringe, or by vigorous pipetting, or else the tissue may also prone for enzymatic disaggregation method. So in enzymatic disaggregation, we can use three different types of technique, like cold trypsinization, warm trypsinization, or else by using the enzyme collagenase. So, in case of cold trypsinization, or while we use cold trypsin, then of course the overnight incubation and cold short incubation is essential. And if we go for warm trypsin method, then of course long incubation and repeat sampling of the cells is essential. And if we go for collagenase in enzymatic disaggregation method, the long incubation and complete medium has to be given to the cells, and after the after the administration of say warm trypsin or by collagenase, then of course the cells have to be centrifuged, and from cold trypsin, if you are using cold trypsin, then of course the cells has to be resuspended and seeded in the primary culture medium. After that, they can pass through secondary subculture or secondary cell culture, which in turn gives the formation, or which in turn gives the production of cell lines from the cells, from the tissues that has been dissected from the organism. Coming to continuous cell line, the finite cell line can be made to a continuous cell line by transformation. So most cell lines grow only for a limited number of generations, after which their growth ceases. But in case of this continuous cell line, the growth will be there for infinite number of generations generally, and the normal cells can be transformed to a continuous cell line. The finite cell line can be transformed to a continuous cell line, and these are some of the differences between the normal cell line and the transformed cell line, or transformed cells, or the continuous cell line. So the normal cell line or anchorage dependent, whereas the transformed or continuous cell line or non-anchorage dependent. So likewise, many of the differences that are listed here can be elucidated for say normal cell line and for continuous cell line. And these are some of the common cell lines, the human cell lines, like leukemia cells. So we can see here different types of cells. So each and every cell has its own characteristic feature on differentiation. So here we can find the leukemia cell line, the villi epithelial cell line, BAE1 endothelial cell line, MCF pressure lines, HT1080 kidney, and MRCS fibroblastic cells, and the neuronal cells SHS, YSY, Y5Y, and 3NL lung cell line. So here we can see the characteristic feature of many of the different types of cells. Coming to cryopreservation is one of the technique where the cells are preserved for their characteristic features. Once we decided to cryopreserve the cell, then we can follow this method. Say the growth medium has to be removed from the cells, and the cells have to be washed in PBS, phosphate buffer saline, and the PBS has been removed by aspiration. So after washing, the PBS should not be present in the cell, and hence it has to be removed by aspiration. And the cells has been dissociated by trypsin, and the after dissociation, the cells have to be prone to the growth medium. So the cells has to be diluted in the growth medium. After diluting the cells in the growth medium, we have to centrifuge at 200 rpm for about 5 minutes at room temperature, and after centrifugation, the growth medium have to be aspirated, and the cells has to be resuspended in 1 to 2 ml of freezing medium, which contains the cryoprotectant DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide, and the vials has to be transferred. The cells has to be transferred to the cryo vials, and they have to be incubated. The cryo vials has to be incubated at minus 80 degrees Celsius overnight, and next day the cryo vials can be transferred to the liquid nitrogen, which is about the temperature of minus 196 degrees Celsius. It's the generalized protocol for cryopreserving the cells. And sometimes the contaminants can be detected in the animal cell culture, either in the primary cell culture or in the secondary cell culture. So, in general, the indicators of contamination are turbid. Sometimes the culture medium turns much turbid, so that itself will indicate the presence of contaminants in the medium, and the change in growth rates abnormally high pH, poor attachment of cells to the medium, and presence of multinucleated cells, and graining cellular appearance, vacuolization in the cells, formation of inclusion bodies, and the cell lysis are some of the indicators of contamination in the animal cell culture medium. And the presence of yeast, bacteria, and fungi usually shows the visible effect on the culture. Of course, the pH of the medium changes, as well as the turbidity of the medium will be enhanced. And if at all mycoplasma contamination is there, then of course it can be detected by direct DNA staining with the intercalation of fluorescent substances like HOCUST 33258. And mycoplasma also can be detected by enzymatic immunoassay method by using specific antisera, or by using specific monoclonal antibodies to mycoplasma, or by the PCR amplification of mycoplasma, the RNA. And the best and the oldest way to eliminate the contamination is to discard the infected cell lines directly. Of course, once the cell line has been infected, then of course it is advised to eliminate the contamination by removing the infected cell lines. This is regarding the in vitro transformation of cells. The transformed, infinite, or established cells can be attained if we transform the cells. Generally, the normal cells will be changed to in vitro cells, will be transformed with many of the properties of cancer cells. Once the normal cells has been transformed, say spontaneously, or by or by induction, or by using some transformants, then of course the cell will gain many of the properties, and it will mimic the cancer cells. Some of these cell lines have actually been derived from tumors, because they have the ability to go for infinite growth, or they are transformed spontaneously in cultures by mutations. And chemical or gamma ray treated cells can also attain the infinite growth with loss of growth factors. And the viral infection with SV40T antigen will also transform the normal cells to transformed cells. In turn, the normal cell lines can be transformed to continuous cell lines by viral infection, also by infecting the normal cells with SV40T antigens. And this SV40T viral infection will in turn insert the oncogenes in the normal cells, which lead to the gene alteration. and in whatever the method has been used to transform the normal cell line, the result is normal cells. The result is a cell with altered functional, morphological, and growth characteristics. And applications of cell culture, the cell culture, of course, it is the excellent model system for studying the normal physiology, cell biology, and biochemistry of cells, and the effect of drugs, the effect of radiation, and the effect of toxic compounds on the cells can be read by using the cell culture, and it is an excellent tool to study the mutagenesis as well as the carcinogenesis. And this is also used for the cell culture also is used for gene transfer studies, the large scale manufacturing of biological components like vaccines, insulin, interferon, and many other therapeutic proteins uh, can be produced by this animal cell culture technology. So these are the various applications of animal cell culture. So many of the monoclonal antibodies can be synthesized, which have its effect in, say, many of the diagnostic features, which is found to have much application in many of the diagnostic assays. And hormones. Hormones are produced like erythropoietin and all, which is vital for many of the therapeutic purposes. And viral vaccines are produced, and many of the immunological regulators like interferons, lymphokines are produced because of this animal cell culture in a large extent. And coming to the artificial media, many different artificial media have been devised to serve one of the following purposes, like immediate survival. Immediate survival of the cell can be rendered by using this artificial medium, and prolonged survival will also be there for the cells. The artificial medium will in turn allow the prolonged survival for the cells, and indefinite growth for the cells can be achieved, and the specialized functions can be rendered to the cells with many of the vital nutrients that are present in the artificial medium. Coming to serum, so this is a liquid yellowish. It is an yellowish liquid. The clear content that is left over after fibrin and cells are removed from the blood. And fetal bovine serum, of course, it is one of the most commonly applied supplement in animal cell culture media. And the normal growth media contain about 2 to 10% of serum. It provides the basic nutrients for the cells, and it provides several hormones also, and it contains several growth factors, and also it acts as the buffer. Serum containing medium, of course, fetal bovine serum, it is one of the most common supplement in animal cell culture media. It is used as a low-cost supplement to provide an optimal culture medium, and the serum provides carriers water-insoluble nutrients, hormones, growth factors, and it also contains many of the protease inhibitors and binds and neutralizes the toxic moieties. Chemically defined medium. So chemically defined medium also is used in many of the animal cell culture works for obtaining many of the vital products in large scale. And these medium will contain the contamination-free, ultra-pure, inorganic as well as organic ingredients, and may also contain the pure protein additives like growth factors. And their constituents are also produced in bacteria as well as in yeast by genetic engineering with many of the additional factors like vitamins, cholesterol, specific amino acids, as well as fatty acids. Coming to protein-free media, this do not contain any protein and only contain non-protein constituents. And compared to the serum supplemented medium, the use of this protein-free media promotes the superior cell growth and protein expression in those cells that has been cultured in the medium, and it facilitates the downstream purification of many of the expressed products. And this is the morphology of cells that has been grown in culture, and each and every cell has its own morphological characteristics. The cells that are cultured can be divided into three basic categories based on their shape and appearance. For example, if the cells are considered to be fibroblastic cells, then of course they are multipolar or sometimes they are bipolar. They have elongated shapes and they grow attached to the substrate. They are said to be anchorage dependent cells. Their morphological characteristic will be like this. So in the representation, we could see a long slender-like cells, which are bipolar or sometimes multipolar. Next is about the epithelial cells, epithelial-like cells. So, of course, we can find the change in morphology while we compare this epithelial-like cells to the fibroblastic cells. So, these epithelial-like cells are polygonal in shape with the more regular dimensions, and of course, they also grow attached to the substrate in discrete patches. Next is about the lymphoblastic-like cells, which are spherical in shape and usually they grow in suspension without attaching to the surface. So they are more prone for suspension culture and they are said to be anchorage independent cells. So we can see the lymphoblastic cells, which are highly spherical in shape. Coming to the applications of the cell culture, they are used for the production of many of the antiviral vaccines, and the cancer research has been highly enhanced, which requires the study of uncontrolled cell division in culture. And the production of many of the pharmaceutical drugs using cell lines can be achieved. And it is also used to study the function of nerve cells like neurons. And many commercial proteins have been produced by animal cell culture, and of course, they also have many of the medical applications. So, like tissue plasminogen activator, this was the first drug that was produced by the mammalian cell culture using recombinant DNA technology. And the recombinant tissue plasminogen activator is safe, of course, and it is effective for dissolving the blood clots in patients with, say, heart diseases and thrombotic diseases.